Welcome to Your Personal Power Pod, a podcast about aligning yourself with the life you want. And here are your hosts, Sandy Abel and Shannon Young.
Shannon, it's another wonderful day in the neighborhood. How are you?
Hey, Sandy. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I think, looking forward to today's topic. It's not a fun one, but it's one I've had a lot of experience with, and I think probably most of us have.
Well, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about regrets.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We all have a wide variety of things that we regret, and it's quite interesting how it impacts us.
Did something happen?
Yeah. You know that I've written a couple books, and one, Feeling Good About You. You can buy it on Amazon, and Amazon just takes care of it. You want to order it, you just order it, and they take care of it and send it to you, and it's all good. And then the other one is called Moving Up to Management, Leadership and Management Skills for New Supervisors. That one you can also buy on Amazon, but I hadn't realized that Amazon doesn't take care of sending it.
Oh.
I found out a couple of weeks ago that because I didn't bother to do the technology thing, because technology is not my friend, I had lots of orders, a couple of years worth of book orders that people had ordered through Amazon, and I was supposed to pick up on that and send them their book, and I didn't do that because I didn't know it. And when I realized it, I went back to try to fix that and apologize profusely to all those people who wanted a book. And as a vendor, if you don't follow through and send your product, then they just refund the money. So all those people ordered books, and then I let them down. And I feel so bad about that. It's a huge regret that I didn't bother to figure out the technology and understand what I was doing, because I'm a reliable, responsible person, and I follow through if I say I'm going to do something.
Yeah, integrity is big in your world.
It is big in my world, and I have deep regret and huge apologies to all those people who tried to buy a book, and I let them down. When I found that out, I figured out how to do it. So now if people buy books, I can send them a book. And I actually like it better that way, because then I can write them a note and stuff too. I was feeling massive regret. So I thought, oh my goodness, there must be other things that people feel regret about, and we might want to talk about that. So what about you? Do you have regrets?
Oh, I do. Of course I do. And mostly having to do with either things I've done or said on purpose or by accident that hurt somebody. And those are biggies in my world. And sometimes you can go back and apologize and try to repair the damage. And other times you're just not in those people's world anymore. And, there really isn't an opportunity to say, hey, I really feel bad about having done XYZ. Those are my regrets.
Yeah. And those are the hardest ones that you can't even try to fix it. Like I was with my books. I mean, I couldn't reach out to the people and say, hey, I'm sorry, because I didn't know who they were.
Right.
Yeah. If a relationship ends because of something you did, probably inadvertently, it's tough.
Yeah. So regret's complicated.
No kidding.
Tell us what it is, first of all.
Regret is when you feel sad or repentant or disappointed about something that's happened or hasn't happened. A missed opportunity, or like you said, something you said or did that you hadn't even realized you were doing. You find out later. It's a negative emotion that can last for minutes, days, years, or a lifetime. Regret is tough. A lot of people haul that around with them.
It's a hard feeling to fix.
Yeah, it is, especially if the people are out of your life, or like I am with my books, I can't reach out to those people. Hopefully, maybe they listen to the podcast and will know I'm really sorry.
There you go.
But if not, I can't fix that. So that's a tough one. And there are actually two kinds of regrets. You regret something you did, or you regret something you didn't do. I wish I'd applied for that job at Microsoft 20 years ago, because now I'd be a bazillionaire.
I wish I'd bought Amazon stock.
Yes, that, Or I regret that I bought some kind of stock, cryptocurrency thing. Now I've been wiped out. So regrets are about things you have done or you haven't done. And they're either intentional or unintentional, like what you were saying and what I was saying, that we didn't intentionally hurt people, but we did it anyway.
What happens when we haul that feeling around?
It makes you feel sad. You beat yourself up. I say the word feel, and it makes me think we're talking about thinking, because feelings come from thinking, and it's what you think. And you think, wow, I shouldn't have done that. I was really stupid, or I was too unaware, and I shouldn't have been aware. So you lay negative thoughts on yourself, which create negative feelings.
Which can make you ultimately unhealthy after a while.
Absolutely. You haul around negativity, and it will throw off your hormones and your hormone balance and your immune system, and sometimes make you grumpy and make it so you don't trust yourself anymore. Regrets are tough. And a lot of times, especially when you can't fix them, you have to figure out what to do with them.
We had an amazing friend who was a chaplain at one of the retirement homes here, and he used to travel around and give a speech talking about what he learned dealing with people at the end of their lives. The speech was about the top 5 regrets that dying people have. So the first one was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. That's a biggie.
Wow, that's a huge one. That's about claiming your personal power.
And being true to yourself. And then the next one is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard, that I'd spent my time doing other more meaningful things than applying myself to my job or thinking about money.
Right. Being with the people I love, or exploring new places, or whatever. Yeah.
The third one is, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings.
Yeah.
More relationship related regrets.
Yes.
I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends and not let those relationships kind of disintegrate. And the last one is, I wish I'd let myself be happier. And that is so powerful, realizing that you've stood in the way of your own happiness.
Wow. That is huge. And so many people do that and don't even realize it. They get so caught up in the shoulds. You know, you should work all the time, or you should always take care of everybody else and not yourself, or all that stuff. They forget to find the joy and the fun and let themselves be happy and make the time for themselves to be happy. I hope everybody, all our listeners, look at yourself and say, am I happy, and am I allowing myself to be happy, or am I getting in the way of that? Because you don't want to be 95 and probably on your way out and go, darn, I regret that I didn't let myself enjoy this experience. That's really huge.
We all have them. And hopefully once you have a couple of regrets and get familiar with that feeling, you start using that as motivation to change your behavior, starting anticipating the kind of regrets you might have later if you keep doing whatever it is you're doing, and then allow that to help you change your behavior. So how do you overcome regrets you already have?
Steve Maraboli, who's a smart guy, said, we all make mistakes, have struggles, and even regret things in our past, but you are not your mistakes. You are not your struggles, and you are here now with the power to shape your day and your future. And that's so important for people to remember. That's the first step, is just pay attention to what you're doing with yourself. Practice self-compassion. I always say be gentle with yourself, which means take care of your inner child. That little person in there is struggling and trying to do it right, and all those things that they were taught to do or not do. You've got to have self-compassion. And if you do something that you later regret, or if you don't do something that you later regret, you've got to be gentle with yourself. Remember that you did the best you could at the time with what you knew.
Yeah.
Things change. I know a lot of people who say, well, wow, I wish I'd known then what I know now. And it's like, yeah, don't we all? But
Yeah, right.
you make decisions based on where you are at the time. So you got to be gentle with yourself. And just remind yourself you're human and you're doing the best you can. Learn from whatever happened and grow. Like I learned from the book thing. If there is anything I'm not sure about technologically or business-wise, I'm going to find out. I'm going to get somebody who is an expert or who understands it to let me know. That was a really good lesson for me.
Yeah.
If you can learn and look at your regrets and find a lesson in it to take away, that will help.
Acknowledging is a biggie. A lot of us tend to ignore or try to push down emotions that feel bad, but you can't get past them until you look at them.
Yeah. So many people spend their life running from their thoughts, and that doesn't work either. because they go with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
So you have to just sit down and deal with the emotional pain and say, I blew that. And I own that I blew that. It does not mean I'm a bad person. It does not mean I'm doomed forever. It just means I made a big mistake or a little mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I will figure out what I can do to rectify it if I can. If you've hurt somebody's feelings, try to call them and apologize, or let them talk about it and own what you did. And if you can't, then you just learn the lesson and be gentle with yourself. So you have to just acknowledge what you're feeling and move ahead. I think that it's important for people to look at things they might regret.
Yes.
Look ahead and say, my parents are only 70 years old, but someday, hopefully, they're going to be 80 or 90 or whatever. Am I spending enough time with them? Am I going to regret that I didn't visit them? Are there questions that I want to know? I want to ask them about their childhood or our family or whatever. Do it now because you don't want to have that regret. A lot of people are making choices that they may regret, like choosing to be addicted to something or choosing to be in a negative relationship and stay in it. And it's vital for people to be aware of the choices they're currently making and look at them and see if that is going to produce regrets in their future.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do have the power right now to change all that. If there are things you want to know from your parents or your family about what their childhood was like, go find out. Don't wait until there's time, because there isn't always time.
Right.
Or if you're making behavior choices that are self-destructive or hurting other people, look at it, because what you're doing is laying the groundwork for regrets. And you could be ruining relationships and doing all kinds of things. So it's important to identify your feelings and allow yourself to feel them, and then get clear on what happened if you've done something wrong and what you can do about it. Always remember that your feelings come from your thoughts, and you do have control over them if you choose to. It's important for people to not cling to their feelings and thoughts that create them too. A lot of people think that if they let go of something, then they're not valuing it anymore. I've seen people who have lost loved ones, and they are afraid to move ahead because they're feeling that they're being disrespectful to the loved one that is gone. Obviously, that's not true. The loved one would not want you to stay stuck, but people choose to stay stuck in their negativity and their regret because they feel that connects them to what was, instead of saying, I'm going to learn the lesson, then I'm going to move ahead.
It occurs to me that if you're struggling, we talked about values a long time ago and how to figure out what your values are.
Yes.
That if you're not quite sure how to go about doing that, think about the things that you might regret, and that'll help you pinpoint your values.
Yes, perfect. If family is important to you, if you value family, then are you going to regret the fact that you didn't give your family any time because you were working all the time, or because you didn't make the effort to go see the seniors or whatever? Oh, that's an excellent point, that you have to pay attention to that.
What's the difference between regret and feeling guilty?
Well, guilt is when you've violated a value.
Regret is about wishing you hadn't? Like, they're related.
You can regret that you violated a value and feel guilty about it, but you can also regret making a poor decision, not buying the Microsoft stock.
Okay.
You don't feel guilty about that. You didn't do anything that violates your values. You still lost out on an opportunity that could have been wonderful.
You just wish you'd done something different.
Exactly. And guilt is when you've actually most often deliberately violated a value. You may have a value that says you be kind to people, and you were deliberately mean to somebody, and then you're going to feel guilty about that. And you may or may not regret that. It may be somebody you just don't like and you don't regret it. I don't know. And you can feel regretful about something that you also feel guilty about, but they don't always go together.
Got it.
And you always have to forgive yourself and just understand that you did the best you could at the time. And sometimes it helps to just find somebody to talk to if you feel like you're beating yourself up about something you regret. Find a trusted person and just say, hey, I did this thing and I didn't mean to do this thing, but this is the result. I feel bad. And then you see what they have to say. Hopefully they will be a good, trusted person and be supportive. Help you find ways to move forward.
I find identifying what you've learned is key in letting it go. Sometimes if you're having a hard time letting that feeling go, it's because you haven't taken the lesson to heart.
That's true. And there's almost always some kind of lesson. And then you can make a regret into a positive if you learn the lesson and then carry it forward and use it in your life as you move on in other ways. If you didn't buy Microsoft 20, 30 years ago, maybe what you've learned is that you might want to find a trusted financial advisor to help you with these kinds of decisions.
It does open a door for you to move in new directions.
Yeah. The important thing is to move.
Yes.
Don't just sit there and wallow in your regret. That's just self-destructive and gets you absolutely nowhere.
And I like how you always say, be gentle with yourself. For some reason, that's really hard for some of us.
Yeah, you have to. It's easier to do if you realize you're being gentle with your inner child. That little person who's inside of you, who's somewhere between 3 and 5 or 6 years old, who's just trying their darndest to do things right and be safe. If you realize that you're not dealing with 40-year-old adult, you're really dealing with that inner child who is devastated because of something that happened or something he or she did. It's much easier to be gentle with that little person who is you. People, please remember that there's that little person in there who's counting on you, the adult, to take good care of who he or she is.
That's so sweet. It just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
And then you'll take care of your inner child. See? This is a quote from Victoria Holt, who says, never regret. If it's good, it's wonderful. If it's bad, it's experience.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. It's very wise.
Well, wrap us up.
We've all felt regret at some point. Regret is when you feel sad, repentant, or disappointed over something you've done or haven't done. This behavior or lack of it can be intentional or unintentional. Feeling regret is normal, but holding on to it for a long time can be bad for your physical, mental, and emotional health. There are several things you can do to let go of and get past regret. Most importantly, learn the lessons and find ways to move forward. Make amends to others if appropriate or possible. Always understand that you are human, which means you occasionally make mistakes, and forgive yourself. Find ways to move ahead in a positive manner and be gentle with yourself.
So where are you with your regret about your books and Amazon?
I learned the lesson, and I'm now ready to, if anybody chooses to buy a book, they will definitely hear from me, and they will get their book, and they will get an appreciation note. I learned a lesson, and I am moving on. What about you with some of your regrets?
I'm allowing them to affect the decisions that I make in the future, helping me make better choices so that I don't feel that way again, so that I know that when the people who I love are either away from me or not around anymore, that they will always know how much I love them and that there won't be weirdness or negative feelings.
Perfect. So you've learned lessons too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all you can do with regret. It's past. You cannot go back and fix it. You can't change it, but you might be able to do something to fix it if an apology or something is required, and you can definitely learn the lesson. So always learn the lesson.
Choosing to learn it. That's where your personal power is.
Exactly. Always being in charge of your thoughts and your behavior and choosing to learn the lessons, and you will create the life you love.
Thank you for sharing your story, Sandy.
Well, thank you, Shannon, and thanks to all our listeners. We're so pleased that you are here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, it's very fun.
We would love to hear from you if you want to share your stories about how self-esteem and personal power affect your life. And we'd also like your suggestions for topics going forward if there's anything you'd like to hear about in future episodes. And we'd love if you wanted to review our podcast. You can do so wherever you stream, or you can visit us at yourpersonalpowerpod.com. Click contact and talk to us directly by dropping us an email. We are excited to let you know we are on Instagram, where you can find us at Your Personal Power Pod. And if you want to learn about coaching, which is amazing, you can learn about how it will change your life by contacting Sandy at insidejobscoach.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, find your power and change your life.